Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brandon.
Hi, Carrie.
I want to talk about something I've noticed for the better part of a couple of years now is in the quote-unquote truthing community, there are different sects to it, and in each sect, they use certain terminology. So you'll have your biblical sects, you'll have your New Age, you'll have your Satanic, you'll have your secret space program, your My Lab, your Soul Trap. You'll have all these different people saying things that are based, maybe little, maybe a lot, in the actual truth. And I think that most of us who are going through all these rabbit holes are starting to realize how important the vernacular is becoming. Because I think what's happening as a form of divide and conquer is they're using the vernacular or verbiage against us. And so when Carrie and I talk, or Anne-Marie and I, or different channels that we've associated with, we'll use certain vernacular, and you'll hear it and you'll think it means one of two things, we'll say, when it goes much deeper than that, because they want you here thinking that a cake is a cake and a TV is a TV and a dog is a dog. However, we all know as truthers that all these different titles go much further than that and have multiple layers to them.
They do, and that's where it becomes important to gleaning information from the context, and understanding a little bit about the perspective of the speaker and the background that they're referring to. I know a lot of times people do use the same word, but with very different intention behind it or meaning, and sometimes it's the same, but it's just said a different way. So to someone that's kind of casually listening, they might totally miss that it's really the same kind of concept. So that's kind of what I think you're saying.
It is. Think of it this way. Like I saw the African American, black guy, whatever, Billy Carson saying on a video that Yeshua is evil. Okay, well, I've also heard that about Jesus. I've heard that about Lucifer. I've heard that about Ra, El. I've heard about all these characters, titles, whatever, when they're all speaking about a true man, which is the truth seekers, which is the person who knows that things that happen here are not the way they should be, that something's off, and is seeking his spiritual truth the whole time. And when that person wakes up to realizing this, what does he do? He tells people about things. Well, these usurpers come in and they create their own characters based off of what he's saying. So when people read the Bible, they think, oh, there's only one Jesus. There's only one Lord and Savior. There's only one way, dude. Like you can't deviate. You got to do it this way. You got to live the perfect life. And I come at it as, okay, no, there are multiple quote unquote Christ is within. I don't even like that word, but the true man is within. The true celestial man who is of wholeness, non-duality, true love, peace, and helpfulness is trying to break through, and that message gets scattered in different ways or usurped in different ways. So what do they do with true men? Like the guy who was in Michigan and he figured out you could do gasoline by H2O, and there's another one that did it by air. These guys get taken out because they're truly seeking better ways. Excuse the doggy. Seeking better ways to help other people, and once the system finds these people, they self-exit themselves, supposedly. And what do? They take that information, they twist it, they turn it, and they use it to stay in power. I always thought it was kind of interesting, like the Merovingian line, like in the Matrix. Imagine a video game, and we all jump in, but the creator of the video game jumped in first, and he said, I have the book of power. I have all the words to get out of here. And once my buddy Shane says, something's not right here, well, that person who has all the power takes Shane out and keeps it from all the rest. So they're none the wiser. That they're all praising something that he made up based off of what the true man was trying to tell them. And so he's mixing darkness with light the whole time and making it nice and shiny with a nice little bow on it, aka Santa Claus. I'm just throwing these ideas out here, guys. I'm not saying that all of these people, I don't want to say names like, the Mikowski, but Sayers, the Uber, like I can go on all these names, but it's all based in truth in some form or fashion. And what we're getting lost in is the terms we use, like Jesus, soul, spirit, essence, and it's a huge distraction for those of us who are seeking the true. I like to call it true lands. The truth where it's transparent, and I'm not trying to hurt or gain ahead of anybody else that's there. The true lands.
Well, what's happened is we have to remember we live in duality, which means that words are going to have more than one application, more than one meaning.
Yep.
Especially the English language. Well, actually, all of them. Most other languages have their words have. They can be much more specific in describing something using more different words, whereas we have one word that has multiple meanings, like the word THERE or THEIR or THEY''RE. It sounds the same, but it means very different things. But back to your analogy with the Jesus story, I do agree that there was what you're calling a true man, one of us, who awakened to the horrors of what's going on here and had been so well trained in their system that he was able to use that system against them to point out that they were in complete error, and they didn't like it, and so they killed him. But what happened is that the powers that be, and there was a prophecy spoken by Caiaphas, the high priest at the time, in which he said that they would use that whole situation to bring in the diaspora, which was the alleged 10 lost tribes. And so what that meant was that they were going to devise a whole new religion using some of the highlights from the Yeshua story and change it into their own version, and then a perversion from that. And so then you have these writers that come in 100 years later claiming to be the apostles or whatever the heck they were, and they put in a whole other Jesus, and that's the Jesus character. In my mind, never walked this earth, but there was a Yeshua at the time indicated by some of the highlights in the New Testament. But they're two very different people. But what happens is that because the Bible, by religion, is taught the way that it is, people think that there's only one, and I can find at least two, maybe three versions of the whole Jesus Christos, thing going on in there.
It goes to the same idea of like, okay, I have a hammer. Am I going to use this hammer to hurt someone, hinder someone, or am I going to use it to build my house, or am I going to use it to pop out a nail, or am I going to use it for this or that? It's the intention behind it. One, it's the usurping of the original intention that it was meant for that has happened. So when you hear these stories of these titles, Christ, Jesus, Ra, El, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, these are titles. And what you're not probably understanding, and sure, feel free to load up the comments if I'm incorrect, but these are titles in which people of true man source, we'll call it, or trueness, are expressing things are not right here and trying to get out a message to the other ones that they feel are true, but they're spiritually blind. It's that saying, oh yeah, Jesus, he healed the blind. He was able to make the blind man see. Okay, well, is that a physical thing or is that a spiritual thing? Because to make a man who is spiritually blinded as to what spirit is, to make them see that there's greater, there is a boundless realm, there's an unseen place, there's a place outside of this that is much, much different from this Father to the true Father. Every single word we've used, from source to God to Father to anything you can think of, has all been hijacked,
Yeah.
and in multiple ways. So you have to have the discernment to see through those layers to know the true meaning of what these things actually are. And unfortunately, in this place, like Carrie says, of duality, you have to know both sides of the coin to be able to see the straight and narrow path through those two sides.
Right. To see both sides, then you can see what's the middle in between and choose to take that road and stop the oscillating left and right, which is the energy exchange and feeding of the critters, whether they be in the upper astral or the lower astral. They're still being fed.
Because in the true lands, there's no upper and lower. Like, they're just, as far as, high positivity, low negativity, it's all transparent. There is no need
It's
for
all clear,
either.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
clear, yeah.
Yeah, everything is clear. So, here we have clairvoyant, clairaudient, all those things, and I think that's a play on the word that over there. I think we're clear, but when you're clear and you're seeing things, other things that are clear, that's going to take on presence that is perceivable by each of those beings within that type of matter. It's very different from here.
And see, that gets into like the last video we just talked about, being clear-headed, clairvoyant, clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's transparent and having nothing in front of you that you have to look through to see the truth. The truth is on both sides of a relationship, of a meeting, of anything. Like, you don't have to guess. You don't have to suss out, is this person benevolent, malevolent? No, they're true. And when you realize that, then things start to change around that whole relationship.
Right. That gets right into bringing or trying to determine who is the author of confusion. Because anytime things are in shades of gray, you're welcoming in, and I won't even say that, different alternatives, or the whole idea of your intention behind something brings in different notions of meaning and power and application for anything that's said. And it can vary by group, in their linguistic patterns or their ways of thinking about things, that the same thing brought up in another group is going to have an entirely different meaning. But there are words that can be found that are in common, and I think it amounts to being patient and trying to strive for clarity in the things that we don't understand, is that someone else is trying to get across, is ask questions.
It's like, okay, so I'm a movie guy, and I used to watch this movie it's with Tim Allen. It's called Jungle to Jungle, and you have this father from like a city, we'll call it New York, who goes overseas to the Aborigines and finds a young boy and brings him back. And he falls in love with this boy in the sense of like a father-son relationship, but they have this vernacular based on their heritage and where they're from and what they were brought up with, that they don't understand one another. But by the end of the movie, they come together because they understand the common ground, which would be then the truth. It's the common ground. It's not the polarity oscillating, highly positive, lowly negative. It is the common neutral ground, which is where you'll find the truth.
It is. What was coming to my mind is getting back to confusion. The confusion is often the distraction. And I'll tell you what, if you're watching these other shows and you're getting more and more confused about what what's real or what's right or what's true or whatever. But my suggestion is give it a break. Purify yourself for a period of time, like by not partaking of those shows or programs or whatever, and try to access your own higher self, holy, WHOLEY spirit, and listen. Ask ask questions at night. Go to bed with something in your mind that you want to have an answer about during the night, or early in the morning, whatever works for you. But I think in finding that common ground, like Brandon was saying with the movie scenario, is where we start to lose that confusion. And there's a cat in my attic. So the confusion is what keeps us stirred up and feeling like we've got to frantically search for an answer to satisfy basically our own desire to know the truth. But if we have to keep looking and looking and looking for it, it just sometimes makes me wonder, if these spirals are really where it's at. I just don't think they are anymore. I don't waste my time with them.
We referenced earlier a specific clip from the movie Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief about the Lotus Cafe, and the way you just phrased that made me picture you got three people on the same page that go into a casino. That's a cat on the wall. This is for comedic pleasure. They go into this cafe or this casino, and they all go various ways. They don't stay together in any way. Like one goes this way, one goes that way, one goes the other way, and those are like rabbit holes or oscillating loops to keep you intertwined in this place of duality, entertained, if you will. And it's the same idea. It's like this place has set it up to where you enter on the same page, and then everything disperses. Think the story or the legend of Babylon. All these people were together, and then they questioned God, and then he separated them all. It's the same kind of story repeating over and over. And once you start to see all these things through the different vernaculars, be it Asian this or Indian that, like you start to put the pieces together. And thankfully we have the internet, and so you can research all these words in Sanskrit, the Hebrew, the Greek, and you can start to make the correlations to see that even though X, Y, and Z uses it this way, and I use it this way, there is a common ground, and that's what you need to dive into.
It is, and it's where even in each layer, the same word will have a different meaning on this earth. You said a while ago that Jesus healing the blind. Well, that could mean physically healing them at this level, but in a higher sense, then that would be help, unfettering them so that their spiritual eyes could see again too. So it's multidimensional. And so just to limit a word as it means only this, I used to listen to a program, and that was the whole thing of it, is it was always only the way that the speaker said that it was, and it didn't matter what anyone else thought, or could see or anything of that nature. It was only the way they said that the word was. And the word clearly would have many applications according to which higher energy realm, density, whatever you want to call it, that a person was in. It has different implications there.
All right, guys, with that, I want to close this out with, they want to keep you looking horizontally for the answers. When you could look vertically, you could look inward, but please stop looking outward, because you will only continue to find
confusion.
All right, guys, we love y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.